It's called free will.
It's called free will.
And the one thing that is part of the way, part of the Father's way, is valuing free will choices. So it's not the Father, it's the choices of personalities, whether they're celestial personalities or human beings. When we have rebellion meaning being outside of divine pattern, being outside of the Tao, the Creator's way. When we have thoughts and actions outside of that, it's rebellion. It's rebellion to true goodness. It's rebellion to the way, the Tao. Whether a person is consciously doing it or not. And it creates then changes in our environment, in our own selves. And so
it can make ourselves ill or
yes,
sick.
Yes.
Come out of your head city. Get off the cosmic cloud. Humble yourselves to the greater lights that have always led the arms crowd. Move on. Move on. Move on. Move on. Move on.
One principle of CFER, Continuing Fifth Epochal Revelation, is that in our ascension process to paradise, it's God's plan for every sentient free will being, if they're mortal or non-mortal, to ascend to paradise. That's God's plan. God is ever so patient. And it could take many, many lifetimes for a sentient free will being to realize there is a Creator. You know, well, at that point, when that man or woman or a being from a celestial being makes that decision, they begin to depend more on God for their decision making. They begin to want to know what we would call, and not for lack of a better terminology, God's will. Mm-hmm. What do you want, Father? We call God Father. Because the Urantia book teaches that every inhabited world of time and space, there are trillions of them, they usually end up calling the Creator Father, because a loving father will guide their children to make the right choice, the right way, going in the right direction, giving what that child needs to meet their destiny. Mm-hmm. So at that point, humankind begins to find out, the individual begins to find out that we do have help. And things begin then to work out better for us. Mm-hmm. Life gets easier. Believe me, I did not build this community. God did. I couldn't have done it on my own. I wouldn't have been able to manifest the money. You know, there's only two ways to manifest money. You're either greedy, you don't care who you hurt, and you just manipulate everybody and everything, rob, steal, cheat, and whatever to get it. Or you say, Father, every day you get up, what's your will? Just like I thought it was God's will to meet with you. That's the only reason I met with you.
But if the Father is a loving parent, a loving Father, how come that we at the same time, as you pointed out, so close to destruction? So apparently the two possibilities.
Yes.
Or he's failing as a father, or the children are so disobedient.
It's called free will.
It's called free will.
And the one thing that is part of the way, part of the Father's way, is valuing free will choices. So it's not the Father, it's the choices of personalities, whether they're celestial personalities or human beings. And it's like for human beings, life is a process of growing up. We keep growing up, we keep evolving, we keep discovering. And so there is the only kind of intervention that celestial beings who are here ministering to us can do is a gentle influences or gentle ways, but never forcing, never what you would call interfering, I guess you would say. Then the intervention, and it's allowing humankind to evolve too, and mankind. So evolution is very much a part of divine pattern. And millions of years of evolution of life, and hundreds and thousands of years of evolution into becoming human beings, that's all part of the way.
Speaking of free will, would you say that here in this commune that the volunteers have can make their own choices, or are they expected to follow the rules you set for them?
Yeah.
Are you the leader, or how do we have a democracy here, or
Yes.
how does it function?
All throughout the ascension process to paradise, there is a hierarchy. There are eldership, various orders of celestial beings act as elders, and human elders. I'm a human elder. I'm a mortal. I'm a human mortal. And I have a responsibility to teach what I know, to guide, to help people not to make mistakes. And that's my responsibility. That's her responsibility. And anyone that becomes an elder has a responsibility to be a father or a mother to people.
As a responsible elder, do you sometimes have to punish people? Do you have to throw people out of commune?
Well, sometimes, I mean, usually people themselves leave because we believe that God did give us commandments. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, one of the questions that you were going to ask was, what do we feel is the biggest problem in America?
Yes.
Yeah. The biggest problem is immorality. That's the biggest problem.
Not only in the US, I would say.
All over the world.
Yeah.
Particularly, all over the world.
And immorality is selfishness. Mm-hmm. It's using other people and hurting other people for your own selfish interests. Yeah. So immoral. We're immoral in how we treat life and the natural world. We're immoral many times in how we use money, how we use politics, how we use medicine. And and how we use sex, how we relate to each other. If you are emotionally blackmailing someone, that is immoral.
But do you believe that we have made progress fighting immorality since the time of, let's say, Adam and Eve? Or are we still stuck? Because, to be honest, I don't see much progress.
I think we're kind of worse. Yeah. I think we're worse because there's more people.
And because we use science in an immoral way. And so now, instead of just clubs to hurt other people, we have nuclear weapons and chemical weapons.
I mean, Einstein said if he would have knew that E equals MC squared would lead to the hydrogen bomb, he would never have given it to the world.
But do you believe that you, unlike other spiritual leaders or human elders or whatever how you want to call them, that you are able to fight this immorality better than teachers before you?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think that any true man or woman of God has come to a place in their walk with God, Creator, that they become higher moral beings themselves. I'm a better man today than I was when I was 20 years old, or 30 years old, or 40 years old, or 50 years old, or 60. Now I'm 71. And so I hope I become a better man every day. And that's the idea. And so I teach what I know to be immoral based upon my 71 years on this planet. But we also believe that we have an astral past. Those of us that have lived before, at some point that astral past comes in play in our present reality. And our mind circuits begins to open up. We begin to remember our past lives, our people we knew in the past life. Things begin to become clearer for us.
Cynthia, who greeted us here at the gate, told me that if human beings live a decent life here on this planet, we may be able to move in the next life to a better planet.
Yes.
Yes. So this is one of the goals
That's the idea.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
But also is to help this planet move forward.
Yes.
You know, and survive and become better.
Yeah, I'm not anxious to get out of here because I've chosen many lifetimes to come back here to help the human race. If God wants me to be here another 50, 100 years, whatever Father wants, but at some point, I think I'll be happier living on another higher world, you know. And I think that it would be my destiny and Leon's destiny and all of our destinies to get off a lower world and go to a higher one.
But I understand that you had meetings with people from higher, better planets, or that because you were referring to the ship where your grandmother was on. And
yes. Yeah. I'm audio fusion material complement. Leon, do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, an audio fusion material complement is different than what some people refer to as channels. There's only one on a planet, and they are a vessel, and different celestial beings come through them, but the vessel, the human, has to be in agreement each time. They come through, and as you explained, as Taliesman Gabriel explained before, they want him present, and they use what's in his mind, in his consciousness, his understanding. He doesn't go to sleep and they just bring something through.
No.
Like Edgar Cayce.
Did, yeah. And so they use him, and it's like a fusion almost of two personalities or whatever. And they use his experiences to teach and to take circumstantial reality and say, okay, this is what happened, and it happened due to these choices, and this is a better way of doing it, is one example of what how they can work. But it's bringing through this, I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, but it's based on the vessel's past life experiences also, and choices made in past lives, and the development of the soul or the character, because the soul is a growing, evolving, unfolding aspect of a person. As an audio fusion material complement, it's not just bringing through then epical revelation in book form that you study. It's not just bringing through what you'd say higher knowledge, higher truth, spiritual truth, science truth. It's also counseling others, helping others with their own soul progress, with their own healing, and with their own correction, purification process.
I didn't start out wanting to be an audio fusion material complement. When I was little, I wanted to be a singer.
Yeah.
and I sang, I practiced, I played guitar, I wrote songs. And I became a Christian minister when I was 22 years old. The Audio-Fusion Material Complement part of me, that didn't happen to me 42 years old, about then. I was told that they wanted to use me. I didn't, say I want to be a channel or an audio-fusion material. I didn't know what an audio-fusion material complement was. And the channels that I have seen in California, I used to sometimes go see a channel. I didn't like what I felt.
No.
I didn't think they were from God. So it's been a process. And when they first came to us, we tested them for years. We didn't just say, okay, we accept you. They told us...
and who is they again?
A Fanauder, a being called a Fanauder.
And others.
And
I mean,
others.
there's other personalities that come
Midwares.
through. They identify who they are
Yeah.
very clearly.
You can see them. They're more than just a voice.
No.
I can't see them, no.
No.
It's a voice.
No, it's a voice. They told her her name, Neon, told her what it meant, Cosmic Woman of Grace. And then they told me too. And then I asked her,
Before they
told us
yeah.
outwardly, what did they tell you? And she told me what they told her. And I said, well, that's exactly what they told me. So they told her her name and what it meant, and what universe she was from, what planet she was from. They did the same thing with our children, our 3 children. They told us what gender they would be. They told us what planet they would be from. So when our first child was born, they said to name her Alcyone, because she was from the Pleiades, and she was from the planet Alcyone that our Earth scientists call Alcyone. It's been a confirmation every step of the way. It wasn't like we just accepted everything verbatim they told us. They pretty much proved themselves to us.
One thing I'd like to say about this is Gabriel and I have very different minds. Our minds work very differently. And so, which I think is a great advantage. For me, I don't need all the time for my faith walk necessarily. The proof that I need is an inner spiritual assurance that I've experienced since I was a child. And so I know it's real, and other people may not, but it's more real than this chair. And it's the spirit that lives within all of us, but some of us are awakened to it more than others. And for whatever reasons, I was aware of it from the time I was a child. And it's always been such a real part of my existence. So for the confirmation for me that this experience of these different celestial beings coming through is, of course, what they bring through that builds and expands upon what's in the Urantia book. This is the fulcrum. This needed to come first. And there needed to be an understanding of that before this could come through. And then my own realizations, my own growth that is happening.
There's a thread of truth that is in all religions. Most people don't do enough study to know what that thread is. And so the 5th epic of Revelation and continuing, they add to those threads. The first thing that Drain Fall told me when he first started to teach me the the beginning of the Urantia book, was that it's not a religion, but that it can be greatly used to enhance all those religions and make the person reading the Revelation a better human being.
So you can be here as a Buddhist, as a Hindu,
Yes.
as a Catholic, and still,
Yes.
you don't have to give up your former religion or your old
No,
religion. No,
you don't.
you don't.
But usually people do. That's
Because
the
there's-
That's the strange thing about it. When I first started reading it, I was very much. I was first raised Catholic, then I became a Protestant minister, and then when I went through a divorce, I went back to the Catholic charismatic renewal, and I was reading the Urantia book as a Catholic, you know. So, and I was going to Mass, I was saying the Rosary, I was,
Everything.
you know, I even went to monasteries thinking I was going to become a priest and reading the Urantia book,
Interesting.
you know. Yeah. So, anyway, as time went on, I did come to the conclusion that I couldn't be a Catholic, but I still, if you look around the room, I have the Stations of the Cross. I have Mary, Blessed Mother Mary back there. You know, there are still things about the Catholic Church that are beautiful, that is necessary, that is good, you know, and pure.
One question before we go on to your music about the commune. About you said without the help of God, the commune would not be able to sustain itself financially.
Yes.
But how does this work? I mean, you sell some of the products you are growing here, and people offer some money of the members, or how do you? Besides the help of God, is there also some practical side to it? Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when we say the help of God, it doesn't mean God comes down, gives us a tree to plant in the garden, and we can pick off a $100 bill. You know,
That'd be nice, but
wishful
no.
thinking, but yeah. No, it means more guidance, inspiration, wisdom, discernment in dealing with circumstantial reality as circumstances come up, taking opportunities to pull and from the potential, take advantage of the potential that's available in the moment, whether it's on a material level or any other level. And yes, we're very practical, obviously. We of course have to exist in the current political system, the current government, the current world and everything. But in that, we here, on a practical measure, we are trying to build a culture that is an example to inspire others to build this culture. And if enough people do something similar, it can spread. But we don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, because we've hit the tipping point and we're going down now in survival of all life on the planet, frankly. If you look, we have a flow chart of our different ministries and organizations that are all related. That's, of course, to be organizing, but that's also for the Internal Revenue Service, for it to understand us. It's for other parts of the government that we have to build our things within code, which we understand. There's lots of laws and codes and regulations that are governmental that are good for the good of all people, to keep water clean, to protect health, on and on. And so we're aware of that and we follow those things. But it's also reaching for higher morality on all levels in how we live and being held accountable. We hold ourselves accountable for our own mistakes and errors.
Would you say that this commune works on the old communist ideal that everyone does what he can do and gets what he needs to get?
I would say
Yeah.
that we could
Yeah.
call ourselves communal.
Communal?
Yeah.
You know,
And some of those ideals, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
We do have most things in common with each other.
Yeah. Are you as a member allowed to own something, to have your own stuff? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
we
yeah.
have personal things.
People have their personal spaces. They have things that they have collected, things of beauty and art and books and clothing and whatever. And when we share clothes, it's like we have these clothing swaps because people get tired of looking at the same things. So we put it all out and everyone to go shopping,
We have
that
an
type
area
of thing.
called goods and possessions.
Yeah.
And in goods and possessions is everything.
And are your children here living as
Toasters.
well here? You have 3 children?
We have,
We have
three
children.
children
They're here as well?
here.
Amadon is one.
You
of
have
them.
4 children. I have
Yeah.
3.
I have another child from my, Neon's my former wife. I have a wife of the last 23 years. And she's a liaison minister in the community, and our daughter's 20.
And she's also here.
Yes.
Does it
Oh, yeah.
sometimes happen that children of members leave the community? or
Yes.
That happens.
They do.
Yes.
They
Yeah,
do,
they
unfortunately.
choose to. Yeah.
But we ask them to stay,
Yeah.
even if they don't get along and with each other as parents, and raise the children together and stay in the community and raise the children together. And that we have more success that way than the other way.
And in building this culture and community, we do have standards, and so we do have regulations and laws, whatever you want to call them, in order to have peace, in order to have health, in order to also go through an intensified purification process, traveling the dark night of the soul, if you want to call it that, in your spiritual process to become a beautiful person, a better person. You know, that's quite arduous in itself. There are certain standards that we have, and if someone chooses that they don't want to live by those standards anymore, then they may choose to leave, or if they continue, or if they're real divisive, we may unfortunately have to ask them to leave. But usually people, you know, they do that themselves.
We try to do everything in moderation. Even wine, beer. One drink, we tell people 1 drink. Now that doesn't mean they should go out and drink every day. 1 drink.
But if they want to, they can.
But they can if they want to.
And
And for example, also sex outside marriage is not allowed, or whether
That's God's law,
that's God's law.
not ours.
Okay.
And God says that we shouldn't have sex before marriage.
No.
Now the question is, what's marriage?
yeah,
We try to teach that marriage is a commitment
to each other.
to each other.
You know, like a real respect and love for each other, not casual sex or the idea that we're going to have a little fling for a week and then,
Give it
you
up.
know. Yeah, and a sense of loyalty to that person.
Yeah,
That's what marriage
important.
means
And
to
particularly
us.
when you have children, you know, you want to be committed to each other and raise the children.
Move on.